You're 3 years into a 20-year sentence when the offer comes. Not in a courtroom, not through your lawyer. It comes in a windowless room that smells like floor wax and old coffee, from a man in a navy suit who knows your mother's address, your daughter's school, and the exact amount of money you owe your public defender. He slides a photograph across the table. It's a man you eat lunch with every day. He says one sentence. 20 years becomes 5. Just tell us about the operation inside. You don't answer. Not yet. You sit there and you do the math. 17 more years in a place where the water tastes like rust and the lights never fully go off. 17 years of watching your daughter grow up through a plexiglass window. 17 years of sleeping 3 feet from a stranger who talks to people who aren't there. Or 5 years and you walk out. You hold your kid. You eat food that doesn't come from a tray. All you have to do is talk. You think it's a choice. It's not. It's a trap with 2 doors and both of them lock behind you. You say yes. Of course you say yes. 48,000 other federal inmates said yes before you. 1 in 8. That's the number. 1 in every 8 people in the system looked at the same math and came to the same conclusion. The suit tells you you're doing the right thing. He tells you this is how justice works. He tells you there might be money. The FBI pays around $40,000 a year for ongoing informants. Might be more, might be less. Depends on what you deliver. He doesn't tell you what happens when you stop being useful. He doesn't tell you that part comes later. So, you start. Small things first. Who's moving product on the East Block? Who's paying which guard to look the other way? Times, quantities, names. You memorize details like your life depends on it. Because it does. You meet with your handler in rooms that don't appear on any floor plan. You whisper things that will put men in solitary for years. And every time you walk back to your cell afterward, your hands are steady but your chest is tight, like someone threaded a wire between your ribs and is pulling it slowly from both ends. The first month goes fine. The second month goes fine. By the third month, you start noticing things. The way a man named Cordero watches you in the chow line. Not angry. Not suspicious. Just watching. The way your cellmate asks where you were Tuesday afternoon. Casual, almost friendly. The way a new guy on the block mentions your name in a conversation you weren't part of. In prison, information is currency, and someone is spending yours. They call it paperwork. Inmates request your court documents, public record. They look for cooperation clauses, sentencing reductions, anything that smells like a deal. They cross-reference dates. When an arrest happens on C Block and you had a private meeting with a guard 2 days before, the math isn't hard. These men failed algebra, but they can solve this equation in their sleep. You ask your handler about protection. He nods. He says they're working on it. Witness protection, he says, is for high-value informants. You ask what that means. He changes the subject. The truth is that only 20 to 30% of informants ever see real protection. The rest get a reduced sentence and a handshake. You are not Sammy Gravano. You are not a headline. You are a line item on a budget spreadsheet, and budgets get cut. 6 months in, a man you've never spoken to sits down across from you at breakfast. He doesn't eat. He just looks at you and says, Philadelphia, 2004. You hear about that? You haven't. You look it up later through a guy who has magazine access. A drug gang killed 8 people as retaliation against 1 informant. 8, including women, including children, not because they had to, because they wanted to send a message. The message was simple. The message was permanent. You stop sleeping well. You start mapping exits you'll never use. You notice every door, every camera blind spot, every guard rotation. You think about Whitey Bulger, FBI informant for decades, transferred to a new facility and beaten to death within 12 hours. 12 hours. The men who killed him knew exactly who he was before he unpacked his things. A corrupt guard, a phone call, a name on a list. That's all it takes. Your handler gets promoted. Your new handler doesn't know your name for 2 weeks. The information you're giving dries up because the operation shifts after too many arrests. You're no longer producing. You're no longer valuable. And the people you informed on are starting to come back from solitary, one by one, like seasons returning. Your sentence gets reduced. 20 becomes 8, not 5 like they promised. 8. You take it because you don't have leverage anymore. You're moved to protective custody, which is a polite name for solitary confinement 23 hours a day. A concrete room, a slot in the door where food appears. 1 hour of yard time in a cage the size of a parking space. This is your freedom. This is what you traded for. When you finally walk out, the sun feels like an accusation. You can't go back to your neighborhood. The word is already there. Rat. Snitch. It followed you out faster than you could walk. Your mother won't answer the phone because someone left a note on her door and she's afraid. Your daughter is 14 now, and she heard things from kids at school whose fathers are still inside. You're alive, you're free, and you've never been more alone. You get a new name in a new city. You work a job where nobody asks questions. You pay rent on an apartment with thin walls and a deadbolt you check 4 times before you sleep. Every time someone looks at you too long in a grocery store, your stomach drops. Every car that slows down on your street is a verdict waiting to be delivered. This feeling doesn't fade, it doesn't heal, it becomes the room you live in. Somewhere, in a facility you'll never see again, a man is sitting in a windowless room that smells like floor wax and old coffee. A suit is sliding a photograph across the table. The math is the same. 20 years or 5, the trap is the same, and the man is going to say yes, because everyone says yes, because the walls are so close, and the years are so long, and the promise sounds like oxygen when you're drowning. He doesn't know what you know. He doesn't know that the door marked freedom leads to a different kind of cage. One with no walls. One with no sentence. One that never, ever ends. The system doesn't save you. It spends you. And when you're used up, it moves on to the next man who thinks he's making a choice.